Three students are discussing whether foreign language courses should be compulsory at university.
I actually think every university student should learn another language. It could be really useful for future jobs, especially if someone wants to work internationally. Learning a language also helps us understand other cultures and can improve skills like memory and communication. Even basic knowledge can show employers that you're willing to learn and work with people from different backgrounds.
I understand the benefits, but I don't think it should be compulsory for everyone. University students already have a lot of coursework, and learning a completely new language can be difficult for some people. If a student struggles with languages, making it mandatory could add unnecessary pressure and even affect their grades. I think students should have the freedom to choose subjects that match their career plans.
I think there could be a middle option. Instead of making a full language course compulsory, universities could strongly encourage students to learn one. They could offer flexible classes for beginners and perhaps give students extra credits or other awards for completing them. Another idea would be to include language skills in courses such as international business or tourism, so students can learn something practical at the same time.
That sounds reasonable, but I still think students should have some language requirement. The world is becoming more connected, and being able to communicate with people from other countries is becoming increasingly valuable. Maybe the university could allow students to choose between a foreign language and another course that develops similar communication or cultural skills. That would give them some choice without completely removing the requirement.
Yeah, I could support that kind of system. My main concern is that students shouldn't be forced into something that doesn't fit their goals. Someone studying computer science, for example, might benefit more from learning a programming skill than spending an entire semester on a foreign language. If universities offered different options, students could still develop useful skills without increasing their academic stress too much.
Exactly. I think we're all agreeing that learning another language has real advantages, but the approach needs to be flexible. Universities could encourage language learning, provide different levels and offer incentives for students who want to continue. That way, students interested in international careers can benefit from it, while others still have the freedom to choose skills that are more relevant to their own studies and future plans. Three students are discussing how their university could introduce a zero-waste system across different departments.
I really think the university needs a proper zero-waste plan. Right now, different departments are doing different things, so there isn't much consistency. We still use a lot of disposable items and print materials that could easily be avoided. I think a central sustainability team could guide each department, track progress, and also involve students through recycling campaigns and waste reduction activities.
I agree that the university should take the lead, but putting the same rules everywhere could be difficult. Some departments, especially laboratories, have strict safety requirements, so they can't simply reduce or reuse everything. Maybe we should set realistic targets and introduce changes gradually. We could also encourage departments to buy reusable equipment and more environmentally friendly supplies whenever it's practical.
That makes sense. From the administration's side, We've already made some progress by reducing printed documents and adding composting facilities. The problem is that these efforts aren't happening equally across the university. We also need to think about the cost. In the long term, producing less waste could actually save money, and there are sometimes grants available to support environmental projects.
Exactly, so I don't think we should wait until everything is perfect before starting. We could introduce a university-wide policy but allow each department to decide how to achieve the targets. Students should also have a role because they produce a lot of everyday waste. If we organize waste audits and awareness activities, people might become more conscious of what they throw away and how they use resources.
Yes, and I like the idea of having smaller targets instead of expecting everything to change immediately. For example, the university could aim to cut its overall waste by a certain percentage over the next couple of years. Departments could then measure their own progress. If sustainability becomes part of our courses as well, students may start thinking about these issues not only on campus but also in their future workplaces.
I think we've reached a pretty good solution. We need one clear university-wide strategy, but the implementation should happen step by step. The administration can coordinate the program, departments can adapt it to their own needs, and students can actively participate. With realistic goals, better purchasing policies, and more awareness, we could gradually create a much more sustainable campus. Three students are discussing whether mental well-being activities should be included in university classes.
I really think universities should include some simple mindfulness activities in regular classes. Students deal with a lot of academic pressure, and even a few minutes of breathing or quiet reflection could help us calm down and concentrate. I'm not suggesting that these activities replace actual teaching. They could simply give students a short mental break and help us feel more prepared to learn.
I can see the benefits, but I'm not sure how practical it would be. Our classes already have a lot of material to cover, so teachers might not want to spend valuable time on extra activities. Still, I agree that stress can affect how well students learn. Maybe short reflection exercises could also improve communication between teachers and students by making everyone a little more aware of how they're feeling.
That's why I think we should keep these activities really short. They don't need to become a separate part of the course. For example, a teacher could spend 2 or 3 minutes at the beginning of class on a simple breathing exercise. Universities could also give teachers an easy guide to follow, so they wouldn't need special training or spend lots of time preparing for it.
Exactly. I think starting small would make the idea much easier to accept. We could even test it in a few classes first and see whether students notice any difference in their concentration or stress levels. If the results are positive, the university could expand the program. It would also show students that their well-being matters, rather than focusing only on grades and academic performance.
I'm beginning to agree with that approach. If the activities are brief and properly organized, they probably wouldn't interfere with the curriculum too much. Teachers could use simple techniques, while trained student volunteers might also help introduce some sessions. The important thing is that students shouldn't feel forced or uncomfortable. It should be a supportive option that helps create a calmer classroom atmosphere.
Yes, I think we've found a good balance. We don't need complicated mindfulness programs. Small, regular activities could be enough to make a difference. The university could begin with a pilot program, provide teachers with simple resources, and collect feedback from students and staff. If everyone finds it useful, these short well-being practices could gradually become a normal part of university learning.
Three students are discussing how universities can make teaching more inclusive for students with different learning needs.
I think some students find traditional university classes really difficult because everything is presented in the same way. Long lectures, strict deadlines, and complicated assignments can make it hard to stay focused and organized. I feel that teachers could make learning easier by providing materials in different formats and breaking large assignments into smaller steps. Clear instructions and regular progress checks would also help students know exactly what they are expected to do.
I agree with you. I think flexibility is important, but teachers also have to manage the needs of an entire class. It isn't always easy to change a course for every individual student. Still, we could design classes with some flexibility from the beginning instead of waiting until someone asks for special support. For example, students could sometimes demonstrate their understanding through a written reflection, a presentation, or another suitable format.
That sounds practical to me. The Student Support Office has also been looking at ways to make teaching more accessible. One problem is that not every student feels comfortable explaining their personal learning difficulties to a teacher. So, instead of depending only on individual requests, universities should try to use teaching methods that work for a wider range of students. We're also planning workshops to help teachers learn some simple inclusive strategies.
Exactly. I don't think inclusive teaching means making university courses easier or lowering academic standards. It's more about removing unnecessary obstacles that stop students from showing what they actually know. If an assignment is clearly explained and divided into manageable stages, students can still be expected to produce high-quality work. Having some flexibility with deadlines or participation could also make a big difference without changing the learning goals.
Yes, and I think teachers would benefit from this as well. When instructions are clear and assignments are well organized, the whole class can understand what they need to do. We could also provide course information in different formats, such as written notes, slides, recordings, or visual explanations. That would give students more than one way to understand the material and could make classes more engaging for everyone.
I think we've reached a good point here. Universities should focus on creating flexible and accessible courses from the start, rather than treating inclusion as something separate. Teachers can receive practical training, students can be given clearer instructions and manageable tasks, and different ways of participating can be offered when appropriate. In the end, inclusive teaching doesn't lower standards, it gives more students a fair opportunity to reach those standards and succeed. Three students are discussing whether volunteering and other university activities should count toward academic credit.
I actually think students should be able to earn some academic credit for volunteering, club leadership, or similar activities. These experiences teach skills that we don't always get from regular classes, like teamwork, communication, leadership, and time management. If someone organizes an event or leads a university club, they're gaining useful experience that could definitely help them in the future. It would also encourage more students to get involved on campus.
I see the benefits, but I'm not completely convinced. Academic credit should usually be connected to actual academic learning, and not every club or volunteer activity has the same level of commitment. Some students might spend months working on a meaningful project, while others might only participate occasionally. I'd be worried that giving credit too easily could reduce the value of a university degree. We need some clear standards.
I think there's a way to combine both ideas. Universities could give credit only for activities that have specific learning goals and proper supervision. For example, students could keep a reflection journal explaining what they learned, while a supervisor could evaluate their contribution. The activity should also be connected in some way to their course or personal development. That would make the credit more meaningful instead of simply rewarding participation.
Yeah, I really like that idea. It would make students take these activities more seriously because they would actually have to show what they learned. I also think this could make university opportunities more accessible. Some students avoid volunteering or leadership roles because they have part-time jobs and can't afford to spend time on unpaid activities. If academic recognition were available, more students might feel that their effort was worthwhile.
That's a good point, especially about equal opportunities. I still wouldn't want these activities to replace normal coursework, but I could support them as an additional option. If the university made students meet certain requirements, such as completing a set number of hours and submitting some kind of assessment, then it would feel more like genuine learning. That seems much fairer than giving everyone automatic credit.
Exactly. So I think we agree that extracurricular activities can complement academic study, as long as they're properly structured. The university could approve specific programs, set clear learning outcomes, and use things like supervisor feedback or reflective assignments to assess students. That way, volunteering and leadership can become valuable parts of university education without lowering academic standards. It could actually help students develop practical skills alongside their classroom knowledge.